Jules, as Allah suggests, this kind of big game failure after big game failure this season for Barcelona. How much of that is down to Ronald Koeman?
Well, I think he has to take a lot of responsibility, but those issues were there before him. You know, the lack of leadership, the lack of game management, control, all of that was there before he was at the club anyway. So it's not just on him. Of course, the fact that they could not beat Atletico Madrid, could not beat Real Madrid, could not beat Sevilla even. You know, the fact that Leo Messi could not score just one goal in those 6 games. This is not enough. It's not enough from Messi, it's not enough from Koeman, it's not enough for the rest of the team. And eventually, this is where you've lost the title. Of course, the game against Granada and against Levante are bad, against Atletico, of course, the boys are right. But it's also in those big games, those huge Clásicos, the big games against Atleti, that you also lost the title because you were unable to win, unable to find a way of scoring more goals, creating more chances, not conceding. And that's where you've made big mistakes as well that eventually will probably cost you this title.
Sid, is Koeman done enough to keep his job?
No. But I think it's not just about what he's done, to be honest. I think it's also about the feelings that the new president, Joan Laporta, has had, the sense that Laporta will have of wanting to bring his new man in. I don't think it's guaranteed, by the way, that Koeman doesn't continue, but I think there are significant doubts about him. I think there is a realisation that he's done some things well. I think the development of some of the younger players, in particular Pedri, Mingueza, up to a point, Araujo as well, I think stands in his favour, but it's not quite enough. And you know, to pick up on that idea of where they lost the league, Sergio Busquets said after the game against Levante, this is a little bit the story of our season. And I think he's quite right. And if we look at this as being 3 title contenders, which is maybe a little unfair on Sevilla, but if it's 3 title contenders, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, Barcelona's results there are played 4, won none. Won none of them, lost 3 of them. It's just not good enough.
Not good enough. I don't think we would say that about Lionel Messi's season. A slow start, but certainly has turned around in the second half. How do we qualify what we've seen from one of the world's best?
If I take you back to the Copa del Rey final, second half, 20 minutes in that second half, it was vintage Lionel Messi. It was turn back the clock 10 years ago. He is dribbling people out of his own half and scoring goals on the attacking half and creating chances for himself, for others. And you're thinking, man, there he is. That's the man. That's the best player ever. But much like Barcelona, he hasn't been able to sustain that level of play. And so there are times in which you evaluate Barcelona and the same breath you evaluate Lionel Messi, and they're shadows of each other. It feels like when Lionel Messi checks out of a game, as he sometimes does, there are moments in which he's not participating, moments in which he's not involved in the play, Barcelona struggles. And I think they go hand in hand, particularly in some of these big games. I go back to El Clásico, which became a story because it was raining, because he was
shivering.
He was shivering, he's changing his jersey and all these things. And yet you felt like, isn't this the moment where Lionel Messi takes over?
Yeah.
Against Atletico Madrid, isn't this the moment where Lionel Messi takes over? Against Granada and Levante, isn't this a moment where you want to see leadership? And I just don't think we saw enough of that from Messi and from some of the other big names at Barcelona. In the end, you pull all of that together, and it's not enough for Lionel Messi to carry this team. There were other things that needed to happen, and they just did not happen with any sort of consistency.
All right, Sid, million, maybe $1 billion question. Will Messi be back next year?
Yes.
Why?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I mean, I genuinely do think this. And strip away club loyalties now. Strip away whether you prefer Barcelona or Real Madrid or Sevilla or Atletico Madrid, or if you are, of course, a lover of the truly beautiful game, if you support Real Oviedo. It doesn't matter who you support. If you have watched Lionel Messi for the last 15 years, genuinely, the idea of not watching him anymore is quite sad. And it's the impact of that. I don't think we fully know what it will be yet. I must admit, I feel like that moment in which he was walking away may have gone. It's true that this season has done some things to convince him to stay, but not enough. And yet I just feel like the likely scenario that he continues next season. I really hope so. By the way, if he is to leave Real Madrid, let him stay in Spain. He can play for Real Oviedo. A season in the second division wouldn't do him any harm at all.
Jules, you agree?
He wants to be on ESPN. He wants you to commentate on his games. There's no doubt. In my mind, there's no doubt.
Right.
And more seriously, I agree with Sid. I think he'll be there next season. Yeah.
Can I just say
Go ahead.
that in terms of that specific question, I made up my mind when I saw this guy participating in the presidential election and actually being there with his kid, photo opportunity. He knew that attention was going to be on him, and he was part of the process. If you're not invested in the future of the club, you don't show up for this sort of thing. And you certainly don't make sure that you're photographed and that people see that you're there. I really think that for Lionel Messi, this club is important. It's part of his life. And I just don't see him going anywhere else. I really think that he is invested in Barcelona for years to come.
We've hardly mentioned Sevilla throughout the show, but throughout most of the season, they gave us a really great four-horse title race. I wonder if you think we'll see that again next year, or was that kind of a one-off?
If you're a Sevilla fan, you hope that they hang on. And if you look at Sevilla, they themselves had opportunities. And it's a team that had a very good start to the season and then just kind of leveled off a little bit. But towards the end, there was a moment there in which you thought, hey, man, if they get the right results against the right teams, then now they have a chance. And in a game against Athletic Club Bilbao, in which they dominated, they created all sorts of opportunities. Iñaki Williams scores on a counterattack, and then they lose that game, and then the season was gone for them in terms of title hope. Had they won that match, the next game was against Real Madrid. If they won that, now we're dancing. And they were so very close to doing both. Beating Athletic Club Bilbao, they did not. Beating Real Madrid, they did not. Now they're out. Think about how close they were in Copa del Rey. Yep. The things that needed to happen in order for Barcelona to advance. Lucas Ocampo missing a penalty. That would have been an away goal and would have changed everything. Ter Stegen comes up with a save. It changed the way that Sevilla will see the season.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.